Hello, everyone. Always more. Lovely jubbly. Hello. You all right? Yeah, I thought this one, we'd have a look at some lyrics that hint at other things. You know, as a different sort of perspective on how you can write a lyric. So I've come up with a few examples, and you'll be able to throw some other ones in the mix. I'm absolutely convinced. Now I'm going to have to keep dropping out of here because I'm only running this off an iPad, and everything's on an iPad. So let me just come out of here, and I'm going to send you some lyrics. Let me just do that a minute. There we go. Right. So just bear with me a minute. I'll sort of copy and drag. This isn't so exciting for people who are watching the replay, obviously. So talk amongst yourselves, everyone. Right. I didn't realise I put somebody on here. All right, let's do it this way. Copy. Copy. Right, I'm going to put them in the chat, but it means that this is going to be an enormous chat. There we go. So if we, oh, that's a bit weird. Only got a little bit of this. Okay, you've only got the first one. Right. Okay, so the first one, you're so vain. Are you familiar with this one, Carly Simon?
Yep. Yeah.
Now, this is obviously a brilliant song. So obviously we don't know who it's about. And strangely, you know, there's a lot of stuff within this song where, you know, you probably think this song is about you. Obviously it is. so you know, there's a lot of little things in there which are quite good, but there's really lots of great lyrics in here, like, you know, some dreams, there were clouds in my coffee. It's fantastic. So I don't know, I mean, how well do you know those lyrics? Anyway.
Yeah, very well. I know the song very well,
yeah. Yeah. I don't know anything about, you know, obviously there's been a lot of suggestions about who it was that she was writing about. But you know, and she sort of, I don't think even now people actually really know who it's about. In whether these things are true. And of course, the other interesting twist in that is that she mentions that she was involved with this person herself in the song, which even makes it even more of a twist. Maybe he, you know, it wasn't quite as bad. And she references also in the song that, you know, you're often with a wife of a good friend, and whether that she was the wife of a good friend or not, I don't know. There's so many open-ended questions in that song. So have you got any ideas, you know, of songs that you would go, I think this has got some really interesting twists and it's sort of ironic, you know, it could be sort of innuendo or whatever, because we've got a few of them as well in here. And let me pose a question. What do you think makes, you know, I just said it was sort of, you know, things that are ironic, but are there any sort of examples of something that you think has got an interesting twist in it like that springs to mind? Putting you on the spot here.
of our own songs, or a different, or any song?
Any song, really.
I've got, what is it? I did write one where it's oh,
That's permissible. Go for it.
it says, what do I shall I just read it out?
Yeah. Go for it.
So it's called Time to Go, and it's time to go now, one last kiss. Didn't know that it would come to this. Car packed with a former life, the favorite picture that I always like. And then but then the next verse is time to go now, cutters loose, sad decision, but it was mine to choose. So it's sort of like, it starts thinking that you're breaking up and it could be the other person who's breaking up, but it then turns out that it's actually actively me. So that was the twist. Yeah.
I like I think what happens with songs that are like this, there's another dimension to the lyric, which just adds a little bit, apart from the fact that the lyric could be really good. I'm just trying to get this to behave itself. Right, so I'm going to try this chat again. Let's have another look at another lyric, and then we'll sort of compare a few of these ideas. Chat. Right, here we go again. So this next one is a song I might have quoted before, actually. This is by Leonard Cohen, called Everybody Knows. And of course, the thing is that actually you don't know. Right? So if you look at the lyrics, everybody knows that the dice are loaded. Everybody rolls with their fingers crossed. Everybody knows that the war is over. Everybody knows the good guys lost. All right. Everybody knows that the fight was fixed. The poor stay poor and the rich get rich. That's how it goes. Everybody knows. Now, what I like about this, and I could have chosen loads of Leonard Cohen songs. If everybody knew, then that wouldn't happen, would it? Really? But it does. Really. I mean, it was basically what you're saying. It's like it's happening under your nose. And it's that sort of thing, like a good joke, isn't it? You don't see it coming. Quite. It's sort of like it distracts you in a way. You think you're going there, and then suddenly it shifts. The punchline takes you to another point. And it's like a good plot twist when you realise you've been sort of misled and deceived along the way. It adds something to it. And a lot of Cohen's stuff is like that, where you listen to it and you think, oh, that's a great poetic line, and you realise he's sort of got you. And there's something I think there's something later in this, actually. How about this? I think this was really amazing, because if you think about all the stuff with the refugees and everything, everybody knows that the boat is leaking. Everybody knows that the captain lied. Everybody's got that broken feeling, like their father or their dog just died. Right. And then here we go. There's always something concealed in here about love. So here we go. Everybody wants a box of chocolates and a long stemmed rose. Everybody knows. Everybody knows you love me, baby. Everybody knows that you really do. Everybody knows that you've been faithful. Oh, give or take a night or two. very clever. So how do we, what's interesting about this, I think, is how do we approach creating some lyrics that have got that type of clever twist to it? Because each line itself is just ordinary, isn't it? There's no sort of killer, like a sort of sting line where you've got words in there you just didn't expect to see, some reference to a classical myth or something like that. There's nothing like that. It's all very straightforward, but it leads you in a way that you could associate with a lot of those things, but in such a way that the irony of it, that you actually sort of go, oh my God, yeah, isn't that true? A bit like the Who's Won't Get Fooled Again. Same sort of thing. The new boss, welcome to the new boss. Same as the old boss. Right? You won't get fooled again. Of course you will. Okay, cool. Right, so I don't want to just sit here reading lyrics to you all. If you think of anything that we could have a listen to, then just throw that into the mix. Or like Elaine, if you've got those lyrics that you did there, how did you get those lines? If you don't mind me asking.
For me, okay. Well, it was because it's many years ago. I decided after a long-term relationship to leave. So it was basically, it was me that broke up. But I just, yeah, it's a sort of, it's a song about leaving and moving on. So yeah, that's how it came about.
So have you recorded it?
I've got like just me on a sort of iPad thing. It's yeah.
Because I think one of those things is about how do you the songs that are really good, people can really associate with them, because it's almost like, well, that from your own experience type of thing. Going back to that Leonard Cohen one, that's a good example of that thing where when you're listening back to that, when you listen to those lyrics, that you know how true those things are. Yeah. Cool. Right, now let me just see if I can find the next bit. So I think it might be an idea to have a listen to something. I'm going to post up Big Yellow Taxi by Joni Mitchell. Again, I could have chosen loads of Joni Mitchell songs, because she says something that's sort of fairly simple, but you realise that she's actually talking about it. There was a particular, I'm trying to think, I think it's My Old Man, Soft Blue, and I think she's talking about Graham Nash, and she, again, this is a situation where she ended a relationship with him, but it's almost like she didn't want to. You can tell from the lyrics that she didn't want to, but she sort of did. And it sort of twists around in such a way that it's difficult to work out really where she stands on it. Don't know if you're familiar with the song, but Blues, Blues is an amazing album. Anyway.
Yeah.
Let me just post this up, and then we'll have a listen to. So this is. All right, so. Okay, I think probably the best thing would be just to find the track now. I'll pause the recording because otherwise it'd just be us staring at the screen. All right. So I'm going to put on mute. So it might be an idea for you. So Big Yellow Taxi, Joni Mitchell.
Are we supposed to be listening to something?
Elaine, yeah, Joni Mitchell, Big Yellow Taxi.
Okay, so what do we do? It. What?
Yeah, just have a listen to it so you get an idea. Yes. All right. Let me know when you're finished.
Very good.
Okay, all finished?
Yep.
Cool. There's a lot of things in there, because when I used to listen to that song, I used to think it's a bit ridiculous about having trees in a tree museum. But of course it isn't, is it? Because so many places that you go to, like, you know, arboretums and stuff like that, and country houses that have got you know, trees that have been brought in from all over the world and everything. And I mean, it's basically what she's singing about. Anyway, that's a good example. So now I must bring in AC/DC into this, because most of the lyrics are innuendo, and even mostly the titles are as well. They must writing the lyrics. You know, a band session where they're writing the lyrics must be hilarious, because it's just, well, I think anyway. You know, so I don't know how familiar you all are with AC/DC. Who isn't?
Me. I'm a girl.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, but that doesn't seem to matter. Not necessarily. So I've just chosen one, but they're all very funny. But I would actually say I meant to put a load of Beatles lyrics in, actually, because a lot of the Beatles stuff is very, I don't know how they managed to get it on the BBC. Obviously, the BBC weren't that genned up on things. I have no idea how they got a lot of that stuff through. Obviously, even things like Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. Because when somebody challenged John Lennon about that, you know, being about LSD, he went, "Is it? Really? Extraordinary." Last year at Blues Camp, we did actually do a thing about how to write psychedelic lyrics. So I don't know if Ben, you were there, Elaine, you were there, and Kim. I don't know if you remember this, but basically, if you take a standard lyric and then change something descriptive and make it a little bit more bizarre, it immediately becomes psychedelic. And I think we did this with Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, I believe. I think it was that, wasn't it? Was it that one? Yeah, it was. Duncan, thanks. Because I think we just had, like, if you change blue skies to marmalade or something like that, immediately becomes, and that's quite likely what he was doing, because you know, it's a bit like, was it Willie Nelson's thing about Lance Armstrong, the cyclist, you know, about him being done for being on drugs when he was doing the Tour de France and all that sort of stuff. And Willie Nelson's point was, you know, when I've been on drugs, I can't even find my bike. So I think it's possible that those were written, you know, there was a technique, I think, because otherwise he wouldn't have finished it probably, or it would just rambled on somewhere else. Anyway, that's just a thought. Okay, so let's just dig this out. So let's have a look what we got here. We did everybody knows. Let's just find it out. Okay. So this is Okay. We could have a listen to this one as well. Here's the chat. So immediately it's humming. Yeah. What can I say? It's not the most refined of their lyrics, I must say.
The thing that always makes me laugh is that, and with AC/DC, is that when they have the line, you know, and I shoot from the hip, you know, that's the real sort of killer line. The music drops and I shoot from the hip, you know, and then it's back in full steam with the music, isn't it? And they have these punchlines that they just throw in where they drop everything out and they go shoot from the hip, you know. It's
yeah. Well, I think they are the construction of their songs are really good.
Yeah.
And I often use, you know, if you look at jazz numbers like Frank Sinatra's stuff and the arrangements that are done for Frank Sinatra, the horns never play over Frank.
Right.
You know, more or less it's the bass player and the drummer, right, holding it together, and then, you know, and then the horns come in and they're sort of, they don't play over the top. And of course that happens in AC/DC stuff.
Yeah.
And it also happens in Led Zeppelin. The big riff is the thing, and then you have the space, and in that space you have the vocal. And it happens obviously in blues, you know. Managed Boy is a good example of that. But so many of their songs are like that, right? And it's like a chicken and egg, you know. Did they? Now, was it because they were listening to obviously they listened to Muddy Waters, because A Whole Lot of Roses is basically Managed Boy back, but slightly backwards. But their stuff is so well put together. Like you're saying, you know, the type of lines that are the important lines, they'll be highlighted by the fact that there's nothing happening.
Yeah. Touch Too Much is exactly the same, where you've got that, you know, got a touch, and then it's da-na-na-na, touch too much, and it's exactly the same as this, Shoot from the Hip.
Yeah. She's Got the Jack is another one.
Yeah.
Okay. So it might be an idea to sort of play with some of those type of lyrics. If you can find a term that's, you know, is a sort of is ambiguous, that people would normally say. You know, I can't think of anything at the moment, but you know the type of thing when you, in a conversation, you sort of go, yeah, like the actress said to the bishop type of thing. Any of those type of lines that you sort of think, yeah, that's it, yeah, that type of thing. Or you know, something about the bush or whatever, bushcraft. Good for the survivalists. You know, you can get some lines like that, and then see what you can do when you play with that sort of lyric, because I think actually a lot of those ideas are based on that. You know, there's a sort of a double entendre going on, or it's just, you know, that thing could mean something else. Like a lot of jokes, really, isn't it? Like, you know, what was the lepers playing cards and somebody threw their hand in, that type of thing. You know, any of those type of lines, you sort of think that's the, you know, anything in a joke that's the punchline. So you can try with that and see what you get, and just keep it there, maybe as a little bit of a, you know, because I think what happens with like Leonard Cohen, it's a bit of a sting in the tail in a lyric, and it's not there. It's not the first thing you start with. That's the point. It's more like the punchline where you twist things around. There's actually a really good book by Jimmy Webb, who wrote Wichita Lineman and By the Time We Get to Phoenix and MacArthur Park. So none of those songs are standard pop songs. They're very unusual pop songs. And he's always looking for an angle on a song. Because, you know, if you're a professional songwriter and somebody wants you to write another love song, I mean, bit difficult, really, isn't it? You know, writing a song for, I was going to say Diana Ross, but I don't think anybody wants to write a song for Diana Ross now. But, you know, if you're going to take a song to somebody, it's got to have something in it that makes it work. I was just thinking of Robbie Williams. If you look at some of Robbie Williams' lyrics, okay, he's not written them. Well, maybe he's written some of them, isn't he? But again, that's playing with, you know, because they're basically, you know, they're obviously sort of love songs or whatever, but it's the angle that he takes, which is really interesting. And it's more that, I think, when you look at a lyric. So going back to Big Yellow Taxi, that places it in a particular cultural environment, which I'm assuming is not Canada, which is obviously where Joni Mitchell comes from, but lived in California. So I'm not sure do they have yellow taxis in Canada? Don't know. So it places it somewhere, and she talks about a screen door slamming and all that sort of thing. So, but that sort of idea of, that's a cultural thing as well. You know, there's so many things in that song which are so potent, because you've got things like Taxi Driver and, you know, those films. You know, the yellow taxi is as iconic as the black cab, isn't it? Don't know. Are there any songs about black cabs? Mr. Trick.
Lenny Kravitz. So, Mr. Cab Driver.
Yeah, it's not Mr. Black Cab Driver, though, is it?
No, I don't. No, I don't think so.
No, I would have thought it would have been something that Madness would have done if anybody's going to do it. But yeah, so there's a lot of cultural things which you can then play with. But again, if you see, you know, if you think about what those lyrics are doing, it's so far removed from the, you know, cliche pop song. Right. Okay, right. Now giving you a chance to sort of think about some of these numbers. Any examples you think, sort of some other songs that have got some interesting sort of ironic I mentioned the Who earlier, didn't I? I'll get fooled again. Any other?
I could bring you up to date. I just had to learn and pretend I was 19 last week.
You had to pretend you were 19.
I did. It was a panto thing, sort of, so you had to suspend disbelief. And I am really 19. I was singing Billie Eilish, Bad Guy.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And that is actually quite interesting as a lyric.
Yeah, it's a good song. Yeah. The lyrics are her, well, whether it's her or her brother, I don't know who writes the songs, but they're very, very clever songs, aren't they? Yeah. So what did you pick out of that particularly? Can you remember much about the?
Yeah, I mean, what do you mean, the lyrics themselves?
Yeah.
Just like, it's a bit like, I don't know, I've not looked or read 50 Shades of Grey, but it's basically, the idea is that the bloke's always, big tough guy, but actually she's in control.
Yeah.
So that's really what.
Yeah. That's clever.
Yeah.
That's clever. Any other examples? Not Billie Eilish necessarily. Billie Eilish. She's got a sister called Force. I can see your brain working, Ben. Okay.
It looks good. But it's not good inside. Scrambled.
This is one of the things when you get off this call, you'll go, oh, yeah, hang on a minute. What about that song? Right. Think about some bands. Okay, I mentioned the Beatles. So there's a few things going on there. I mean, Imagine, actually, I know it's not the Beatles, but Imagine's quite a good one. It's not so much the lyrics, actually, because they're brilliant. But the irony is actually it's John Lennon, because even the film is in this great stately home, isn't it, that he owns. Imagine you have no possessions. In fact, there's a little story that Elton John went and stayed at this place of John Lennon's, and apparently the gold doorknob came off, and he was sort of cursing this thing, and Elton John said, imagine you have no possessions. Apparently John Lennon said, fuck off, it's only a song. So there we go. Yeah, Rolling Stones. You can't always get what you want. So that's a great song with some interesting things. The second verse of that. Let me see if we can get a bit of time. Let's have a listen to that one. It's a long, long song. So get to, I think it's about the second or third verse. So if we listen to this, and then I'll come in and interrupt. All right. Otherwise, it's about, I think it's about 6 minutes song. So I'll just pause this a minute because I forgot to pause the recording last time.